Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Everardo Resendis. People around here know me as Coach Ever. I am a certified business and executive coach, an action coach in Northwest Louisiana. Today, I have Andrew Ward and Hannah Carey with The Boot. It's an organization in Louisiana, and they're my guests. We're going to be talking about this endeavor, the journey to get it started, the challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate an organization such as this one. If this is your first time on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. And so, Andrew, Hannah, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Good to meet you, Coach Ever. Yeah, this is good. I like your flag behind you. Go Tigers.
Right? Yes,
There it is. There it
representing.
is. There it is. There it is. Yeah, happy to be here.
Will you share with us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about this organization?
Okay, Hannah, you want me to go first? I can
Sure.
kind of lead off and talk about how it's all got started. So I was U.S. Army infantry, served 2001 to 2007. Did almost 2 years tour in Iraq and closed that chapter though almost 20 years ago. And but I always kind of felt kind of close to it as we do. There's that brotherhood. And so I always stayed close to veteran service organizations and developed a relationship with our current governor, Jeff Landry, who's from the same area. I'm from Lafayette, and he's from the Acadiana region. And so I guess when he became elected, when he got elected to the governorship, he ended up putting together some transition teams. And one of the transition teams was military affairs. And I was placed on that along with a bunch of really smart people. And one of the things that we needed to figure out besides, uh, the military bases and the National Guard and the governor's office of Homeland Security was we wanted to be able to say, how can we really stop the flight of talent that, starts in Louisiana and evolves in Louisiana, and then when it comes time after college, goes to a different state in the country where a different, better opportunity might lie. And I had this light bulb of an idea of coming out of my military career. A lot of times they don't really give you a handbook. When you're in the military, there's a handbook for everything. There's an
That's
SOP for
right.
everything. And so one of the things they don't do, and Hannah's going to talk a little bit about it, but there's great programs. There's the Skill Bridge program. There's Hiring Our Heroes. There's these big national ones. So my kind of idea was, why won't we take our state and essentially just build a recruiting team that would say, okay, there's some really wonderful communities here in Louisiana. There's Shreveport, there's Lafayette, there's Baton Rouge, there's New Orleans. But a lot of these service members that are serving here in the state at Barksdale Air Force Base or at Fort Johnson in Leesville, the Army base, they're not from here. And so maybe that's all they see. And if we would open their eyes a little more to some of the opportunities, not just in those communities, but through careers, through colleges, through the things that we love so much about this state. I was born and raised here, and I fly the Louisiana flag very proudly. Is how can we get them to see that side of it? And so we brought the plan together, and Governor Landry's team gave it the green light. We had to go through legislation, everything. So we ended up getting it through this past year, and it's called the Boot. And so we are a 501c3, but we are funded by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs has our baseline funding, and then they fund us as a third party outside nonprofit organization. The reason for that too, there's a reason for that. We didn't want to go underneath essentially a state agency, because as an independent, we can grow with the help of our corporate partnerships. We can go and apply for and get federal grants, which we just got a really nice one from the Delta Regional Authority to take, it's called Warriors to Welders. And so we're going to do 40 transitioning service members and bring them into a program that's going to give them the tools to become welders right out of there. And that was with some funding from the Delta Regional Authority, a workforce development grant. Um, So that's why we established it that way and built a team. And Hannah is our ambassador up at Barksdale Air Force Base up in Shreveport. So I can kind of shift to her and let her introduce herself and kind of the work that she does day in and day out. Because I help put the plan together and put everything in motion, but it's the success of it really lies with Hannah and her team. That's the boots on the ground.
All right, Hannah. So it's your turn now.
Sure. So I guess I'll just start a little bit with how I got here. So I moved to Louisiana March of 2022 as a military spouse. Initially, we were supposed to go to Colorado Springs, and then they switched it last minute, and so we ended up here, which was good. Um, I have a degree in English, technical communication. I'm working on a master's in analytics. And I was looking online, just, putting my resume out to tons of companies here in Bossier City and Shreveport. And I wasn't really getting a lot of response back. And I was just wondering, like, is it me? Is it my resume? Is it my cover letters? What's going on? And I think a part of it was just not knowing anybody. So I started building my network on LinkedIn, and a lot of times as military spouses, you end up in the same rooms with the transitioning service members. They just kind of put you in the same networking events to try and meet companies and find jobs. And through that process, I learned about strategic volunteering. I started volunteering with 3 veteran organizations, one of which was Hiring Our Heroes, which is now one of our partners with The Boot, which is awesome. And so with Hiring Our Heroes, they are a U.S. Chamber of Commerce foundation. So I knew I needed to connect with my local chambers. And so I did that. And that's kind of where I learned about the boot. And so since then, I now have an office on base in the mission support group. And then I work with the Bossier and Shreveport Chamber and also the Military Affairs Council just to get the word out about what we're doing and our service members. And so it's really great being able to be on base, and the leadership is amazing. I work a lot with the commander for the mission support group and his wife, and they are very much involved, even beyond, I would say, maybe normal working hours. Like they're always brainstorming, excuse me, how they can connect with the community. Sorry, my allergies. But so we do, last week we did a spouse connect session. We do job fairs. And ultimately, it's really just about connecting with the service members as they're getting out, learning their industries of interest, what jobs they're looking for, what they did in the military, and how their military experience can transition over into the civilian workforce. I would say most of the people that I'm working with now out of Barksdale, there's a lot of cybersecurity people, intelligence analysts, aircraft maintainers, things like that, where I know is at Fort Johnson, there's more of the infantry and people who have worked with tanks and things. So it's definitely a different service member that's coming out of each base. But what we do is the same. We want to know them, if they're interested in staying either here in Shreveport, Bossier City, or if they're even open to somewhere else in Louisiana. And just trying to help them connect with the right companies for them.
Very cool. So it's very inspiring to see that there are people out there who really love the state and want to keep that talent around here. Because it really is what we need in the business community, is to have access to the right kind of individuals that have the right intent, have the right skill set, and want to grow and live here. Let me perhaps move to a little bit of the structure of this organization, the boot. You're present, of course, in Lafayette. That's where you are, Andrew, and Hannah. You have other people around the state. Um, what sort of structure you guys have?
We do. So we have a leadership team. I think we have 9 staff members right now. And it was very strategic in the way that we set this up because our CEOs out of the North Shore, at Mandeville, north of New Orleans. Our chief operation officer, he is in Lake Charles. We have 2 in Lafayette, 2 in Baton Rouge. Like we mentioned, Hannah's in Shreveport, and then we have Ben Isles, who is our ambassador on Fort Johnson, and he lives right outside of Leesville. So for us, having that kind of spread across the state, it makes an impact because when you're taking these individuals and these service members, and we physically take them into these communities. So what sets us apart is that we don't just talk about it as a marketing campaign. We actually physically have the budget to put together trips. We call them community experiences, and we'll put a cohort together of 15 to 20 individuals, and we physically take a 3-day trip into Lafayette, into Lake Charles, and we mix everything from an employment event, like to build whatever career they want to go into. And we typically have between 10 and 20 employers. They all want to show up for that. We'll take them on fun evenings with dinner. We'll take them to, a brewery if there's around. Like we'll take them, basically, it's a red carpet treatment of what the community can be for them if they wanted to move here. And we're going to continue to do those throughout the year. We're going to try to do, all the major cities at least, once or twice a year. And so for us, the structure worked because, I don't know Lake Charles like our COO does. But so when we brought that group into Lake Charles, he knew exactly where to go, who to talk to. The mayors are all involved. The chambers of commerce are all involved. So it's a big warm hug to these service members. And so they don't feel like they're just moving into a community by themselves. And that's really the baseline of this business, of this nonprofit, is taking the guesswork out of it. It's taking, like, we get so granular as we introduce them to the real estate agents. We introduce them to bankers, because those are the decisions you're going to have to make after you get out of the military. And people forget about that. They're like, oh, I'm just going to throw them in a job and they're good to go. No, there's a lot of things that go along with that. It really is. And so we try to get as granular as possible, and really make that transition as easy as possible.
All right. So perhaps some stats will help understanding sort of the impact of what you're doing. Like, what are the goals of your organization at this point?
Well,
How many people do you want to be able to bring in?
that's my proud moment. So our Secretary of Veterans Affairs pulled a statistic out the other day. He said we have about 262,000 veterans living in the state of Louisiana. Their economic impact is $3.1 billion. So that's a big number, right? So you can keep adding that number. If we keep adding these more people that come live in our state, that's just dollars, dollars, dollars. So we took the investment from the state. We knew what the economic impact per veteran was going to be. We did a kind of a matrix. So what you're looking at here, just so you and your listeners know, you look at a veteran, somebody coming out of the military, as they could be a 20-year, right? If they did 20 years in the military, that's a federal pension that comes with that person. That's a positive dollar. Then if they go to the school, they bring a GI Bill. That's a positive dollar, federal money. And if they have a disability benefit, that's a third. That's a positive federal dollar. So you don't just have somebody that has Department of Defense training, that has skills, that has all the things you want to look for in that individual to be a positive piece of your community, but they're bringing dollars with them. So anyway, long story short, we knew per year to break even on the state's investment that we needed to have 26 people stay or recruit into the state. 26 military members coming out of service per year. We're at 7 months because we're on the fiscal year started in July. And in our first year, and we were 7 months in, we're already at, what are we at, 68, Hannah? We're almost at 70?
Yeah, it's about that.
So if you think about it, 26, I mean, our economic impact so far is, I think, at right around 3.4 million dollars. So that's for me is something I shout from the rooftops, that we're taking the state and they're investing in us, and we're turning it around and giving back a positive ROI on that investment.
That is outstanding, Andrew. And it truly is the only way to look at it, right? You
Yep.
want to, if you're going to use money from the government in any way, it needs to return in droves
That's
Mhm.
right.
for the benefit of everybody around us. And
That's right.
so, kudos for that.
Thank
Let me ask you this: who would you say it's a good candidate for in your search for employers? What sort of employers make the best for what you're looking for?
Oh, I can answer, but Hannah, you go ahead and take that one because you're working all the time up there in Shreveport and Bossier and in that region.
All right. I think really with employers, it's just we'll, of course, get to know them and vet them as a company and make sure that we're sending our service members to people that we trust. But honestly, it's just having the willingness to look at their resumes and giving them an interview, just being open, having jobs available, being invested, understanding that the military experience that they have is extremely valuable, even if it looks a little bit different to them, because, for example, um, if you work as an aircraft maintainer, like you might not come out and necessarily do that same type of work, but you have really good technical skills to be able
That's
to
right.
apply to maybe a manufacturing type job or something like that. So it's really just respecting and understanding what our service members have done and what they bring to the table, and that they're going to show up, they're going to pass a drug test, they're going to be there, and probably even at your highest capacity of work, they've probably worked even harder than that. And so, like, as they come over, like, it's going to be almost possibly even like easier for them. And they're used to a chain of command in a structured environment. And so, really just making sure that the employers understand that and will give them a chance that they so much deserve.
Well, to piggyback on that statement too, it's not going to be a one size fits all, but we are very fortunate that we can sector it out, right? And we have sectored it out by cyber because there's a lot of cyber jobs available now. Or we have a lot of, if they are in the Navy, you have a lot of like the merchant marines, or you have like the offshore boat companies that they really want to tie into those skill set that they have. Healthcare is another big one because it just, I mean, there's just so many jobs in healthcare. So it's for us, it's yes, we have our big partnerships of industry, and then we kind of tighten those up based on what it's more about, like not trying to fit the square peg in the round hole. It's more like what Hannah said. It's about that really intensive process of knowing that person and knowing what they want. You know, I mean, they could have been in the Navy and been at sea for 6 years, and they want to come back and they want to be a police officer, or they want to be a, you know what I mean? So it doesn't necessarily, it's not an easy transfer. Just because they did this in the military means they're going to do that.
That's
So
right.
that's, we try to be as intentional as possible with our success managers, um, as well. And so that's something I can tell you as a business. That's something that we were very intentional about as well. Where Hannah and I mentioned Ben earlier, Isles, they're our ambassadors, and they're on Barksdale and Fort Johnson, and they're the ones that are taking these recruits that are coming out, and they're, you know, sharing with them the good work that we're doing and bringing them in. But on the other side of it, we have a whole separate team that are our success managers, and they're almost like caseworkers, and they're the ones that when they get the handoff, they're the ones that are calling and emailing and setting up the trips and setting up the job interviews and all the things that need to kind of get them to that really good place.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, let me ask you these. You did mention that what you do goes way beyond the marketing of these are the opportunities we have here. It's more about really doing a work of recruitment, not only for the service members that you're going to try and place, but also the people that will actually provide the jobs. And so, how do you get the word out there? What's your marketing strategy?
I mean, we have a marketing director, and we had a marketing agency that helped us build this brand in the beginning. You know, for us, it's just outreach. It's just, you know, finding the different communities that we're going to. And in the beginning, we knew that we wanted to start with the ones that we lived in, and then we're going to branch out. And we have plans for Monroe and Alexandria and some of the other ones. But in the beginning, like Lafayette, for example, I knew Lafayette inside and out. And I also knew the employer base here through my relationship with the chamber. So I knew which companies were going to be veteran friendly, I guess you would call it, in their hiring practices. And so we kind of went to them first. And then as you know, word can get out, and we had some really great articles and some TV appearances. And just like anything else, if it's showing that it's doing good for the state, then people are going to want to be a part of it. So it's thankful for us. We haven't had to really do too much heavy lifting on the marketing so far.
Well, you really what you did is you leverage your networking capabilities to get the traction that you needed. And after that, it almost comes in as the possibilities for referrals come around.
No, it's a
So I
good
love
thing.
that.
I love, I mean, my favorite thing is whenever I have a mayor of a town come to me and they're upset. They're like, when are you coming to my city? When are you bringing me? And I'm saying, we're coming. We're building our team every day. And I said we have 9 people, but I mean, by this time next year, we could have 19, which I hope. And that just means that we have more opportunities. So I mentioned our bases here, but one of the things that's very important to know is that in the coming months, we're going to be at Fort Bragg, or I think it's Bragg again, but we're going to be at multiple bases around the country, because the ultimate goal is not just to keep the members of the military here in Louisiana. We want them to come from all over the bases, from all over the country, and make Louisiana as veteran friendly of a state as we can. So that's the
On their
ultimate goal.
home, to make it their home. I love it.
Make their
Okay.
home.
So we've talked a little bit about the structure, how you guys operate. Um, in our pre-interview, we talked a little bit about the readiness of employers to be able to take on these opportunities, right? Because that's what really they are. I don't know that there's many transitional points that will have as much let's call it intrinsic value than it is to hiring veterans. And so, will you tell us a little bit about what it takes for a business of any sort to be ready to work with veterans?
Yeah, so basically, like with what I'm doing now, I have service members about 30 right now that I'm working with, just out of Barksdale. And they're at different places. Some of them have maybe just gotten out. Some of them are on what we would call terminal leave, to where they basically finished their military service and they've got 1 or 2 months there where they're looking for that right job. And then I have some that are further out, and they're looking for skill bridge. So essentially, this is a DoD program where the companies can get a service member to work for them for up to 6 months at no charge to the company at all. The DoD would pay the service member. And so this is such a great opportunity for our people that are getting out to kind of get their feet wet in a company, to where, maybe they could even become employed with that company at the end of the 6 months. And of course, for the company, they get to support the military, have an incredible worker there with them, and they don't even have to pay them or provide benefits or anything for that 6 month period. And so that's something we're trying to do as well, is just spread the word about that program within Shreveport and Bossier City to different companies. Because I will tell you, our people, I talk to them all the time on base, and they'll go online to the DoD SkillBridge website and they look for SkillBridge opportunities. And there are very few companies listed in our area. And sometimes that's because they're going through a third party. There are third party companies that will kind of do all that paperwork on the back end. But from what I understand, and Andrew, you can correct me if this isn't right, but I believe that the DoD is kind of shifting towards not using the third parties anymore. I've heard that that's kind of coming up, to where it really, really is essential that more companies become SkillBridge certified. And we have so many veterans that I'm working with that they want to stay in the region. And statistically, our service members are more likely to stay in the area of the last base that they're in, or the one they retire out of, if they get a great job offer. And
Right.
maybe even if they have an offer in another state, they'll stay here for something better. So for economic development purposes, we really do want more companies to be SkillBridge certified, so that when I have all these people that are ready to go, I can just send them to the right companies. And ultimately, it's the service member's choice where they go. We just like to provide them options, but it's up to them.
Right.
That's
And
right. Well,
so, what does it take for a business to become SkillBridge certified?
So it's HR. So they'll have to kind of go through those pathways. I have somebody locally who I would call my personal point of contact. So when I have a business that's like, I want to become SkillBridge certified, but I'm daunted by the paperwork, I just do a connect email to my guy here locally in the area that has done that within other companies. And so he's available. I can help assist any local companies that want to do that. If they'd reach out to me, I'll get them to my guy. But Andrew, if you might have some more information on the specifics of that.
no, that's right. That's right. I mean, if you want to get set up and you want to be a SkillBridge certified business or company, I mean, that you just go to the website and just follow the process. It's a pretty simple It's a pretty simple process overall.
Right.
You just have to check
Wonderful.
some. Yep.
Wonderful. So it would be great if we have more people in this region, in this area, to go in and apply and get certified, because then it opens up the doors for all these service people that are ready waiting for us to make offerings available to them. I love that. I think it's a great program. Now, let's then talk a little bit about the challenges that come up with these. What do you find is perhaps obstacles in your either search for employers or getting the members, the service members, to want to stay around here?
No, I don't think that we face, I can talk about it from like a macro perspective, and then Hannah can, talk about her experience at Barksdale because she's directly interacting with all those. We haven't really faced any challenges, and I hate to say that because that's kind of a cop out, but what we've seen is just such really kind of wonderful buy-in on both sides where, we bring these service members around, like I mentioned before, and showed them communities they didn't know existed. And you hear it all the time. They're like, wow, like I didn't realize Louisiana had this going on with it. I mean, we knew the food, we knew the fun, but they were like, we didn't realize that it was more advanced in the economic development space, or if, it had all these companies that had all these opportunities. And so that's something that we were very intentional again on doing. I'd like to say that we were really kind of hit hard with some early challenges, but it's been all systems go so far. Hannah, do you see anything from your side, kind of when they're coming out?
Right. No, I totally agree with you. I haven't seen any challenges at all with businesses or anything like that. I would say, as far as our area, I'll hear from military spouses and stuff, about is there enough to do here, right? And so, like, I would say that that's probably the main thing is they're just looking for family activities and things to do. And that's where I want to give like major praise to our mission support group commander and his wife, Renee, because like I said, I mean, they have gone just so above and beyond. It's so enjoyable to get to work with them and just see how much they care about our military spouses, and of course the family as a whole. But Renee actually started a Facebook page. I'll just share it here. It's called Barksdale Air Force Base, AFB, and Area Events and Information. And I mean, she is amazing. I was just telling Colonel McKinnish the other day, like, I have no idea where she even finds this stuff because she will just post, like, it's just picture after picture after picture of all the things happening in our area. And she'll even do like a radius around our area, just even, within a few hours of things that are going on. Such a great resource for anybody locally who's like not sure what to do on the weekends or what we have to offer. It's a great
Well,
place to find
there's
things.
plenty to go around. People just need to know about it. And
Right. Yeah.
so thank you for that. That's excellent. So not a lot of challenges moving ahead. And you're right. At least in my experience in the River Rocher area, there's such amount of love for the service members and the openness of the community for them, for you guys.
Well, I think the challenge is just being able to satisfy all the opportunities that come to us. We have them all the time, right? And we have to be very selective sometimes. Not that they're bad roads to go down or they're dead ends, but there's just so many opportunities that we have to be able to kind of sift through and say, okay, we can manage this and we can manage that, and we've actually even started to kind of get a little bit more creative where I mentioned that we're bringing them to the cities, right? And then when we bring them to the cities, it's all around them. Well, we're going to start mixing in these new things where, for example, my maritime career, I'll use them as an example. They're the Seafarers Union, the Merchant Marines. So they have a great operation down in New Orleans. So what we're going to do is we're going to carve out like a mini trip, and we're only going to take 5 or 6 people that are interested in that specific type of job, and it'll just be a 1-day excursion down in there. So we'll start doing that with like micro trips to these different industrial partners, and we'll do one-offs like that. That way they're satisfied, and we can kind of start to kind of diversify away from just going just to the communities.
Certainly, the opportunities are boundless. Let me then move on to what the future looks like for you guys. What do you see happening with these organizations in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, we were drafting up. It's funny you say our CEO Ben and myself are drafting up our 3-year strategic plan right now. And for us, I mean, number one is just to increase that number of placements. We're hoping to hit 100. Our goal for our team is 100 by the end of the year, by the time we get to July 1st again. And, we'd love to see in year two, 200, in year three, 400, and really just to kind of spread our wings and, bring on more ambassadors and really kind of, yeah, I mean, I know every business says expansion, right? There's not one business out there that's like, yeah, we don't want to do much. We just want to go the opposite way.
We're fine the way we are right now.
And I know that's a canned answer, but it's true. I mean, we didn't build this to just barely get by. We built this to be this big shining star within the state. And I think we got our legs under us and we figured out what we need to do and how we're going to do it. So now it's just all about execution from this point on.
Love it, Andrew. Thank you so much for that. Well, we have certainly covered a lot around in this conversation today. And for those who are watching, I highly encourage you to save these and come back a few times for an additional watch. There's a lot of great nuggets here. And so, as we begin to wrap up, I have a few rapid fire questions for you guys. So, each one of you will have an opportunity to answer each question. Okay. So, quick couple of hit answers for each. What is the key to success for you?
Oh, yeah, just continuing to connect with the service members and, the companies and matching them up with the right opportunities. Go ahead, Andrew.
I think you mean key to success overall or key to success within the boot?
No, overall.
Key to success overall, it's just having a passion for what you do is paramount. For me, it's number one. You have to, what fills your cup? Because if you're just getting up in the morning and you're just trying to make $1, that's great. But at the same time, that's going to get old very quick. So find that thing in your life that gives back to you as much as you're doing for it. And then if you're able to make money in the meantime, then you're winning at life.
That's right. We got to pursue our passion. Normally, money comes with it.
That's
Yes?
right.
All right. What is your one piece of advice for business people in our region?
Ladies first.
Okay. I would say just, if you have job opportunities available, let us know. Let us help you fill them with our amazing service members that are here and those that are coming in from other states. Got one in Colorado that's wanting to come to Louisiana, and we're looking at different places, but he's open to Shreveport. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. What about you, Andrew?
Ditto. I couldn't have said it better. No, that's exactly what I would say. The same thing is that there's just so many opportunities here, and Louisiana is such on a good, positive growth trajectory right now. We got some education numbers back recently that we went all the way up from 49th and 50th to what 28th, I think, in some categories. And so, and now LED, you're seeing the State Economic Development Group really bringing these massive deals, with the Meta $10 billion investment in Richland Parish. And no, there's some very strong efforts throughout the state right now. And I'm like to think that we're just a piece of that puzzle.
Very good. So, what is one book that you're reading right now or you have read that you would like to recommend people to get a hold of?
I just got Winning the Loser's Game, financial book. So I can't speak on it yet because I'm still reading it, but
You find it interesting enough to get all the people into it?
I mean, maybe I want to make smart financial decisions, so I'm trying.
Oh, we are. What about you, Andrew?
That's a good question. There's a couple of them. It's a really good one. So I was fortunate enough to be part of this George Bush Institute Veteran Leadership Program, and one of the people that we met during our time there was General Jim Madison, and he has a book called Call Sign Chaos, and they called him the Marine Monk or the Monk Marine, and it's just very call sign chaos it is military, but it's more about life and it's more about philosophy, and I always recommend that book to people.
Excellent. So, an interesting question coming up. If you had to choose only one thing, an area or a piece of your business or your organization that you could immediately improve tomorrow by, magic one type, what would that be?
That's a great question. So one thing that we could wave a magic wand and increase tomorrow,
Improve, fix,
improve.
you know.
Um, Hannah, do you want to go first again, or do you want me to take it?
Oh, I'll let you go, Andrew. I'm still thinking.
No, I think, yeah, that's a good one. No, I think for us, it's just like any business. It's making sure that our processes and procedures, and I know that's cliche, but making sure that our processes and procedures stay aligned, that we're always kind of improving and staying the course, and kind of everybody on the same page of the mission. Like that to me, because a lot of times I mention that it's nobody's fault of their own, but a bonus is being spread out across the state, but that also kind of hinders that progress sometimes when you have that team effort, everybody in the same room, everybody on the same. So, our team, I give them a lot of credit because they do, even though everybody's remote, everybody still operates off the same playbook, but continue to do that day in and day out. It can be a challenge sometimes.
Very good.
Good. Yeah. I would say for me, I'm working with, like I said, about 30 people right now at different stages. So I'll send their resumes out to different companies. And, I think if I could wave my magic wand, I would probably get them hired even more quickly. But
Yeah.
that's the
So
goal.
how long does it take, if I may ask? For them, when
It
they
just
come and show you
depends.
interest, it depends on the person?
Yes, it just depends. One thing we'll tell them too is if you see something, if you see a company that you want to interact with, let us know. And if we're not already connected with them, we'll get that connection. For example, I've got two interested in the Amazon warehousing facility over in Shreveport, and we didn't have the contact yet. So I sent a couple emails and now I have it. And so
Yeah.
really just trying to get them connected. And I've got one guy on terminal leave, and he's coming up on about his last paycheck, and I've been working with him, and he's awesome. To the point where I just print his resume and started hand delivering it. Just got to get this guy hired. And so, but yeah, the companies around here have been amazing. The chambers have been amazing. The base has been awesome. I mean, everything's great and it's going in the right direction. So I think we'll have a lot of success keeping some of our people here.
Very, very, very good and very inspiring, guys.
Thank
Um,
you.
Before we get into the final question of the day, how can other people learn more about you and your organization? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, simple. It's just theboot.la. So not theboot.com, but theboot.la. And if you go to our website, we have a partners page. So if you're a company that wants to work with us or an organization that wants to partner with us, you go to the partners page. And if you're that transitioning service member and you're still in the military and you're wanting our support for your next stage in civilian life, you go to I don't know, what do you call it, Hannah? It's not partners, it's sign up or learn
Right.
more or, you know. So anyway, it's in a very simple form that lets us know everything about them, from their MOS, their method of service, to what base they're on, to all the different things that we need to have on the front end. So the boot.la will get you all the information you need.
Very good. The final question of the day: for all of these things and all the things that you do and all the difficult and successes that you go through, what do you find is most inspiring for you?
Hannah?
I mean, probably just the success of our people finally getting hired, knowing that they worked really hard. I could speak to as like a military spouse. We're at a 22% unemployment rate compared to the 4% national average. And so I know how it feels to be applying and applying and applying and feeling like you're just another resume in a stack of them. And so I think the personalized touch that this organization allows the service member to have is that we can reach out directly to the HR departments. And some companies even just say, like, I'll talk to the president of different companies, and they're like, no, just send them to me and I'll disseminate the resume to the right place. But for them, knowing that their name is going to be brought up, we're going to call, we're going to follow up, and giving them that, I think, is really special. And I'm grateful to work for somewhere that does that for people. I think it's awesome.
It's pretty
Very good.
simple.
Thank
We're
you.
we're in the people business, and we get to not only be in the people business, which is fulfilling in itself, but we get to serve a community that is, the highest level of respect and dedication that we could provide to, right? And so being able to kind of have that line of work and be able to do it for as long as we can, that's inspiring in itself.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. I understand that, in doing what you do, you're trying to impact much more than what you can control. And so, for that, I cannot thank you enough. I love this state, and I think that what you're doing is worthwhile and needs to be spread around.
Well, this has been
So,
wonderful. This has been wonderful. No, this is great. Thank you for having us on, really.
Yes, thank
well, one thing that keeps resonating with me is the idea that, um, you know, these service members are not names on a paper, right? They need to have substance, and they probably have a lot more to offer than what we can see on a resume. So we need to make sure that this continues to happen. Again, I don't thank
Well
you enough
said.
for being here with me today. Thank you to the audience for watching and sharing. You never know who might be inspired by listening to this interview. So make sure that you spread it around. And so make it a great day. Until next time.
Thank you.